Cameroon military has refuted that the unalived 14 civilians in the operation that occurred on the 26th of April 2026 in Zeranyam, a locality in Jakiri, Bui division of the northwest region of Cameroon. According to the military spokesperson, Research Atonfa, indicating that all of the 14 people that were unalive following the operation that took place in the early hours of Sunday 26, all of them, including the female and the children, or those within the 16 years, are part of the separatist movement. Now, this is what is in context here. The communique was explicit that the defense and security forces received tip-up from the local population and that the separatists were gathering to carry out a planned attack and were united to carry out a planned attack. That is why the defense and security forces immediately swung into action and got them unalive. The communique of Research Atonfa further explained the fact that the defense and security forces did not shoot indiscriminately, but rather that the defense and security forces operated in a replied manner where the separatists launched the attack and the defense and security forces countered the attack, leading to the unaliving of the 14 individuals that were spotted, that none among them were civilians. However, this is not sitting down well in the minds of locals who were on the ground or who are on this ground and who are stating that yes, separatist fighters were in the gathering that took place in Zeranyam, but that in that gathering, those who were killed, according to eyewitnesses, that separatist fighters were killed. Among them, some civilians were killed. But the defense and security forces, Research Atonfa, has cleared the air that nothing as such occurred. Now, let us go on context. Cameroon security forces, on some instances, have backtracked their initial position on issues regarding the unaliving of civilians. Between the period of 2018, April 2018, there was a viral video that surfaced in the northern part of Cameroon, the far north region of Cameroon, in Zelet village. In Zelet village, where it was pictured, allegedly men in military fatigue were seen unaliving women and children who had no weapons, who were unarmed, were vulnerable, and when that incident went out, the military came out to debunk the claim that that was not Cameroon Defense and Security Forces. The then Minister of Communication, Jakiri, further explained that this attack that we are seeing or we saw on the video that surfaced in 2018, that it never took place in Cameroon, it took place in Mali, and that not in Cameroon. However, Cameroonians maintain the fact that it took place in Cameroon. Minister Jakiri, government spokesman at the time, doubled down on his claim that it was not Cameroon Defense Security Forces. Pressure mounted. BBC did an explosive documentary investigative report using satellite imagery, geolocating the environment, matching it with the video. It was then clear that that incident occurred on Cameroon soil. Prompted the government to carry out investigation. Government carried out the investigation and later on backtracked on their initial premise, and military officers were arrested, some court-martialed until 2020 when they were finally sentenced between 10 years in prison and above. That was a shift of position, which initially the government has said no, the military was not responsible. The second incident, which is still fresh in the minds of people, it is the Ngabu incident, the Valentine's Day incident that occurred in Ngabu, a locality in Du subdivision, Donga Mountain division of the Northwest and Southwest region. This attack occurred on 14 February 2020, where between 21 to 23 civilians were unalive. Among them, 13 children, alongside a pregnant woman, was unalive in Ngabu. When this incident occurred, the defense and security forces immediately came out to say they had no idea that that was not done by defense and security forces, that it was done by separatists in an attempt to cover that track, or in an attempt to dissuade and to push away Cameroon military from coming to rescue civilians. The Minister of Communication then, Jakiri, again came out to say that that attack did not involve defense and security forces. The defense and security forces also blamed it on an explosion of a fuel, that the separatists had stored fuel, logistic fuel, and actually exploded and killed civilians. Pressure mounted. Civil society added their voice, and a lot of international organizations added their voice based on eyewitness testimonies that no, those who were actually unalive were not unalive by separatists but by defense and security forces. Meetings were held in Gabu. The senior divisional officer went to Gabu, and the population maintained their stand. Eyewitness maintained their stand. This forced Cameroon government under President Paul Biya to actually carry out an investigation. And on April 2020, President Paul Biya created a commission, an independent commission, to investigate the issue of Gabu. And during the investigation, it was later revealed that elements of defense and security forces who operated in the area were responsible for the unaliving of between 21 to 23 civilians, including pregnant women and 13 children in Gabu massacre. And the matter went to court. February this year, 2026, those people, the military personnel that were responsible were sentenced by Yaoundé Military Tribunal between 5 to 10 years and above. They're bringing the fact that there's a shift in position. Now, looking at what the Defense and Security Forces, Sirish Research at Tonfak, posted in the government communique, many are still pointing fingers that among them, there is a notable name, Salah Ye Sanla. Ye Sanla is a woman whose husband had been unalived by separatist fighters, according to locals, for allegedly refusing to assist them in their operation, either logistic or in any circumstances. That the husband was unalived based on that premise, and that after that the husband was unalived. And they are saying that this woman in no way could and can be a separatist fighter, but the Defense and Security Forces maintain. So many of those in that area and some civil society leaders and Cameroonians are calling for an independent investigation to look into this issue. Yes, attesting that they have attested that separatists were unalived, but are also maintaining that there was indiscriminate shooting by Defense and Security Forces. Defense and Security Forces saying they did not indiscriminately shoot, and that is why the people think that looking at these two issues of Ngabu and the Far North incident, there is need for an independent audit to take place in Bui division, in the northwest region of Cameroon, Jakiri subdivision, to find out the truth about this issue. And the Defense and Security Forces reiterate their commitment that they will forever protect civilians and that their mission is not to unalive civilians. Whatever the case, some people of the regime baron are basing their mind on the concept of relativism, that this may be on the concept of relativism, that even if that occurred is based on the concept of relativism. But the Geneva Convention doesn't give relativism as a favor or as a green light to unalive civilians. It is not yet clear. It is only when an independent audit will come to either confirm the position of the Defense and Security Forces or otherwise, as we saw in the Gabu and as we saw in the Far North region.